Some things I want to keep to myself, especially when it comes to my personal data online. I really don't want any hacker snooping on me, so I use NordVPN.
The mathematical calculation required to mine it.
But now you've got 20 odd NGOs.
Yeah, so and we want to grow that. So we've got a decent, just to get this across. So what we didn't want to do is go into a fully centralized system. Like I say, I'm a kind of a libertarian. I remember that my background was cryptos. I loved cryptocurrencies. I loved what it could do. I loved the concept of it, but it was too fiercely complicated. So the reason I even did anything with Electroneum is because I wanted everyone to have some cryptocurrency. I wanted everyone to be involved. I wanted everyone to understand it. So I launched Electroneum as a smartphone accessible cryptocurrency because I wanted the world to know about cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. So what I don't want is a database somewhere and us being a fintech bank type company that just is fully centralized, because I am still part of that crypto community. But that being said, I also am quite happy to add extra layers to give us more protection, to give our users more protection, to give us as a business more protection, to become more regulatorily controlled. I think I made that word up. To become more under the umbrella of regulation, so that we can be embraced by governments and thus get acceptance. Because remember that if you can use us to hop across into another cryptocurrency project that's fully decentralized, fully anonymous, whatever you want it to be, you can get some ETN. Okay, so you're now under regulatory control. But guess what? You hop over there and suddenly you're in Monero, you're in Bitcoin, you're in
pirate chain. Something about pirate chain.
There you go. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, so ultimately we've carried this fork out because we wanted to involve the NGOs, and there was no way to involve the NGOs. We haven't got a warehouse full of ASIC equipment, so we couldn't have done that anyway, and it wasn't profitable enough. You know, you only get a small margin when you're running ASICs. That's kind of the nature of proof of work. Mm-hmm. So by doing what we've done, we've now got a whole layer that is decentralized, so it's not run by any one of them, and that network layer is redundant, so if any of them switch off, it doesn't matter, because there's enough of them to carry the network on. And that network would run even if a meteorite came from space and landed on us and flattened us all. Touch wood, that doesn't happen. But you get the idea, right? Meteorite comes from space, wipes us out. So it's okay, people's ETN is still being transferred, their ETN is still safe on the blockchain because it is around the world. It's not just sitting on a server in our office. So that would cause a problem in that the moderator layer that we talked about, which is, it's a passive layer. It doesn't do anything, like right now it's doing nothing except monitoring. Mm-hmm. And so what it does is it just looks, and it has an expectation. So we know that everybody is hashing at the same rate. So because of that, we know to expect blocks to be mined by the people that are active in a fairly regular way. You're going to get luck involved as well from here to there. So actually a couple of blocks may get mined more in an hour than normal. But what you won't see is you won't see one or two people hugely putting together an awful lot of blocks. Something weird is happening. So if out of 20 odd people, 2 people suddenly started mining a lot of blocks, our moderator layer would go, no, that is not right. And instantly the peer-to-peer layer of our network would go out and shut them down. Now the reason to have that is because we want to protect everyone. We want to protect the exchanges, and we want to speed things up. Now, if you ever sent Bitcoin to an exchange, they might want 3, they might want 6 confirmations. So that's maybe 30 minutes, might be 60 minutes for it to confirm. Mm-hmm. Now, because we are now not 51% attackable, no one can 51% attack us for a few reasons, not just the moderator layer, but we've done a few other things as well. The first thing is that we've taken our mining code and made it closed source. So we only give a binary to the NGOs. The NGOs haven't got source code. People can't actually, well, they could reverse engineer it feasibly, but they probably won't. They're trusted organizations. Mm-hmm. So we give them that. Then we give them a printout, or an image, in fact, of an auth code that they have to physically type in. Mm-hmm. So when they type that auth code in, it is not stored on the same server. So if someone hacks into that server, they may well get the binary to do the mining, but that does not do anything. It doesn't give them access to do anything. So if someone's stolen the binary, doesn't matter. What they would have to do is they'd have to steal the binary, and they would have to steal the auth code, which we tell them, whatever you do, don't store it on the same server. But even someone, if they were silly enough to accidentally save the JPEG on the same server, and then someone realized how it worked, Now you've got a bad actor that's got a miner on our network and an auth code. First thing we've done, you can't mine 2 blocks in a row. So you can't 51% attack with one miner, even if you've got both the parts, because someone else on the network has to mine alternate blocks. So straight away you're protected there. But then we thought, well, okay, well, but what if somebody manages to hack into somebody else and they've been stupid enough to leave the JPEG with the auth code written in? Well, the answer is now they could actually mine blocks really fast. So that's where our moderator layer would then go, that isn't right, and shut them down. So as such, 51% attacks can't happen on our network. So that means now what we've said to the exchanges is, let's go down to 5 confirmations. Now, from our point of view, that's 10 minutes, and that is secure. So when your ETN is transferred to an exchange, the exchange can wait 10 minutes and then say, yeah, okay, this has been transferred, it's okay. So that's considerably faster than most cryptocurrencies. But this is a first tier. We've just made this radical fork, and this is our first foray into this world. So we've made it 5 confirmations, but actually it could be a lot less. So where we're aiming to go, and this is what I say about this is the beginning of something. You know, it's the end of proof of work for us, but it's the beginning of something more exciting, which is with this model, which nobody else in the world has, I might add, although Libra have something very interestingly close to what we've done. I like the fact that Libra were talking about this is what we propose, and we're sitting there saying, we've already coded it. So, so we're doing something very exciting. And what it means is that we can move forwards into a faster blockchain model. So first of all, what we'd like to do is head towards when you send ETN to an exchange, when it goes into a block, it's yours. So because if you can't be 51% attack, that's fine. So virtually 0 confirmations. As soon as it hits a block, it's there. Then you suddenly got 2 minutes into an exchange, 2 minutes out, 2 minutes from person to person based on blockchain. And then we can speed that up even more as we move forwards into understanding how to, instead of building the blocks like we do at the moment, whether there is transactions waiting or not, there's no real point putting an empty block in anymore. The reason that empty blocks exist in traditional blockchain models is you have to keep the miner interested because the miner is critical to your decentralized network. Well, when the miners are trusted, they'll carry on doing it whether they're getting the block reward or not. So if there was an empty block, why bother mining? It's just no point. Might as well not mine. So there's lots of things we're going to do to improve our blockchain.
Okay. And then, so everybody, the other miners, their miners are now redundant. They should go and mine. They should go and mine something else.
I think Dero or someone else. There are other ASIC mineable coins.
Yeah.
I think maybe Monero Classic.
Yeah.
Now, so going to look at that.
Back to the NGOs, and you mentioned Libra, and we're going to talk about that, right? Isn't there a risk of increasing centralization? My understanding is Zuckerberg started off with the most noble of intentions, and how Google had the motto of "Don't be evil," and then they got more and more control, and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now they're monetized, multi-billion-dollar companies, and then using what they've got to exert control. So you'll have people's KYC details, you'll know where they're located, and if not you, then whoever replaces you. In the company, or regulatory pressure from a particular regime.
No, I totally get that. It's an argument that I've seen has been flying around against Facebook's Libra. Funnily enough, I don't subscribe to that view particularly because
I'm not on Facebook. I stopped using it.
I don't use Facebook. I mean, I have to have a Facebook account because obviously Retortal is a social media company, and I need to have access to that for our apps and things. But I don't use it. None of my family use Facebook. But so even if let's say you said Google have changed. They've removed "Don't be evil." But let's go the other way and say let's say Facebook adopt "Be evil." Right? Let's say they're the evilest corporation on the planet. He's got his white cap. And he's spent his $1 billion.
This is pure speculation. If anybody's watching from Facebook,
got a white hat. Right? So look, I don't see this. I don't see the ethical argument being an issue because of one thing. So if you give the world access to a cryptocurrency onboarding that's easy to do, links to the existing banking system, and is pure evil, right? But you've given it to the world, and the world can now get their $50, $5, 50 cents, $500, whatever it is, and get it into Libra coin and instantly onto an exchange and into Bitcoin. into Monero, into something else. The evil has only done one thing. It's made the decentralized projects easier to access. So people are worried about LibraCoin for the wrong reasons, I think. Because if it's an on-ramp and an off-ramp, then it's made all the other projects far more accessible. I still talk to people who say, "Oh, I'd like to buy some Electroneum," and I say, "Oh, no, you don't buy it from me. You buy it on an exchange." And they say, "Well, I don't know what exchange is." I say, "No, I understand that, but you have to do this and you have to do that," and it blows people's mind. And it's still very difficult to onboard and offboard from cryptocurrencies. A lot of crypto people will be out there going, "No, it isn't," but it is.
It is. It is.
And it's certainly much harder than it should be. So people come along, including us, who are trying to overcome some of these hurdles. I mean, again, people said to me, "Oh my goodness, Libra, they're aiming for the unbanked." I'm like, well, that's great. It's great news. You know, the more people that are involved in this, I'm not afraid of competition. And Facebook sounds like competition to us, but it isn't. We're going to be in very different places doing different models. You know, we're all about our app, topping up airtime, working in the gig economy. We're not a stable coin. You know, they are talking about stable coin and various things. So I think that I don't see them as competition. I see them as pushing cryptocurrency forwards, and that can only be a good thing for the whole industry.
Yeah, and there is something else about that, about the competition, because people will say, "Well, wait a minute, this project are doing this thing, but this other project are also doing the same thing, and there's going to be no room." But then I look at, well, how many
2 billion people? Yeah.
Well, how many motor cars are there?
Yeah, exactly.
How many different types of cars?
Absolutely right.
How many different types of credit cards are there? How many different types?
There's always room.
There's plenty of room
for competition. In fact, competition is always a good thing. It's very easy to be complacent in a marketplace where you're the only person in that market. Whereas if there is any competition, it works for the consumer. In cost terms and in development terms, you've got to compete against each other. You've got to find the edge so that you've got constant development.
Yeah,
it's better for everybody if there's competition.
Sure, but the point I was making was about Electroneum having greater centralized control.
Yeah. Okay. So from our point of view, the moderator layer certainly does give us a bit more centralized control. We are not a centralized system, you know. So we've got this decentralized layer that I was very insistent upon having. So if we got wiped out, so it's different from if I turn evil, which would give me some power, but I'll come on to that in a second. But if we got wiped out, which could be two different things. So one, you've got your meteorite strike, which is hopefully unlikely, and something else that I think is unlikely, but possibly more feasible, is at some point you have a government. Bear in mind, I live in England, my family's in England, the business is in England. If the government decided, actually, we want to stomp out this for some reason, that would be a problem if it wasn't decentralized. But it is decentralized. So what happens is we say, well, okay, Electroneum Limited shuts down. The blockchain is now running over here. Somebody would have to fork the network and they could put ASIC mining back in really easily, and the blockchain's still public.
People have already forked it.
Yeah, it's easy to keep it running. That's the whole point of these things. The point of decentralization is that someone else can pick it up. There is no Bitcoin office. I can't phone Bitcoin or open a support ticket with Bitcoin. It's decentralized. I could, if I wanted to, fork Bitcoin this afternoon and say, this is the real Bitcoin, guys. And if people followed my project, then that would be the real Bitcoin. That's how it works. So what happens is, if we do turn evil and somebody out there goes, don't like what you're doing, this is a better way, then the blockchain can follow them. And certainly if we got wiped off the face of the earth by the FCA or by a meteorite,
or even in another country, if there's other countries said, okay, look, we don't want Electroneum going on there, right? Well, what can you do? Because there are countries, I think Morocco, Bangladesh have banned Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Good luck to them.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, as you know, you can't really ban it. It's a sort of a crazy thing to suggest that you can. But with us, to be fair, we probably, if the government came to us and said, would you mind awfully stopping access to for those people through your app, we wouldn't have much choice because we're embracing regulation, right? So there is a difficult thing. What we would be doing is we would be working with them, and this is why the gig economy is so important. Nearly everybody who's worried about banning these things, the people who are banning Bitcoin are not banning Bitcoin because they are scared of Bitcoin. They're scared of capital flight from their country. And they see Bitcoin as a way for capital to fly out of their borders with no control. And once you explain with KYC We're not about flight. We are about input. We're about making more money for your people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a few eye openers, certainly for the NGO layers. As soon as we explain what we're doing, huge interest. And I think it needs to be live because people need to see things and touch things to understand them. It's all about talking about them, but once you see it, it opens your eyes to what it is. And once we get that live, I think you'll find some of these countries that say, yeah, look, Bitcoin's banned. You might well find it's Bitcoin's banned, but ETN isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can bring money into their country, they'd be crazy not to bring some of their people out of poverty. Because bringing their people out of poverty with, guess what, a regulatory embracing cryptocurrency that could stop. We're not doing this yet, but I'm not going to rule it out. Imagine we could stop 10% of their earnings from the gig economy as tax for the government. The governments are going to embrace it. And we want embracing because, like I said, we want to make mass adoption of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and then also it is the route that you've taken. And if people are interested in purely decentralized projects or community projects, they should go and pursue that, right? Okay, fair enough. Now, let's talk about the NGOs then. Unless anything else you want to say about the mining and the blockchain that we haven't covered?
No, maybe. I can rattle on about it. We've been 6 or 7 months of secrecy. I'm a bit... I've got to say everything. So if anything else springs into my head, I shall...
That's right. All right. Well, let's talk about the NGOs. So they've already started, and I know you said on the video that you posted when you announced it that you can leave it up to them.
Yes.
If they want to go public or not. It's entirely up to them. You're not going to announce them.
No. So, but what we are doing is we're monitoring their social media. Right. So because we know who they are, of course. So what we will be doing is we'll monitor them. I suspect. I mean, I said to you before we went on camera that we've got one or two of them actually that are quite excited and actually want to post in advance. So we're one of them because of course they'll
bring them a lot of publicity. Yeah.
But we've sort of said, well, look, we'd much rather you just wait for a little bit until the first lot of ETN you cash through the OTC desk, whether that be in a week or in a month or whenever. If you've converted some to US dollars and you've now got some tangible, we have earned something, and our project is benefiting directly from being involved and for being part of this decentralized thing. It's a much stronger message to the public rather than saying, oh yeah, we've jumped in now. So we're sort of holding a couple off, but I think that some people will be tweeting fairly quickly within weeks. Some may take long, some may never. We haven't got any of the monsters, right? Just so because I know people will be, some people speculate. Oh, we haven't got the
Red Cross, is it Oxfam?
That's right. We haven't got any of those monsters, but that doesn't mean that we haven't got our eye on some of those monsters. But mostly, they wouldn't care about. It's not enough. There's not enough US dollar equivalent for them to care. But we have got our eye on those, some of those really, really big guys, and we have some discussion going on right now with some of the big guys for the gig economy side. Chris Gorman is working with NGOs right as we speak to try and so that when we show it working, they are on the ground with the very people that we're trying to help, trying to empower. They're trying to help and empower them already, which is one of the reasons why we've tried to choose vocational NGOs, because if they're part of the education anyway, that's how we see the gig economy work.
What do you mean by vocational?
Oh, sorry. So lots of NGOs do lots of different things. So water aid, all about getting clean water to villages, couldn't be more important in terms of a basic, the very ground up starts with water. So that's a fantastic NGO, but it's not about training people how to earn more money or it's not teaching them to go from subsistence farming into the digital world, for instance, or working in
set up a business or learn a trade or something.
But there are NGOs that do just that. So there are some fantastic NGOs. Some of the NGOs that I really, really liked the look of and we reached out to have not yet joined up, even though they're just perfect for us. So we looked at literally hundreds of NGOs. We reached out to probably maybe not 100, but we must have reached out 60 or 70, maybe more than that, and started explaining what it is. We've got across the line quite a few of them, but you'll see more. Once people start tweeting and saying, oh yeah, we've had this money for our project, I think you'll find we'll have more come on board or asked to come on board, because actually what we've done is we've also geographically chosen them to be in countries that we are able to go live hopefully later on this year. So we've got all sorts of countries that we're going to go live with airtime top up later in the year, which is another story perhaps. But but the NGOs, we've chosen vocational ones. They've all got something to do with training. Sometimes it's earlier in life, so it might be schooling. There's one that, again, maybe I'll give away too much if I say too much, but they've got a whole educational village that they've built, and we're trying to be part of that. And so it's all about education, because if we can take somebody and give them the simplest digital gig.
Projects, NGOs that teach people how to fish. Versus the ones that give them fish, as a metaphor.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
And then teaching them how to fish, they'll be able to. Now my metaphor is going to fall apart. Sell the fish through the gig economy.
Well, this is exactly right. So what you have is you have some places that are giving a fantastic level of education to a child who has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles to go if they want to use those skills, because they can't get a job with those skills when they live in a village that relies on subsistence farming. So if you've now got someone who's extremely literate, extremely numerate, and has a very good understanding of core business concepts and the world, and now what can you do? Well, go out, get a hoe, and help your dad, tend to the field. That's the only option for you. There's no money to be earned. You're a subsistence farmer. Now, if that is the case, you've already got the groundwork in there. This person has tangible skill, but they just don't have an outlet for that skill. Now, with the gig economy thing, the idea is that you can have the very, 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 very simplest thing on there ever, which could be it could be somebody saying, "Oh, I'd like you to get our company logo and arrange it in flowers or sticks or on the ground. Do it in stock frame photography with your phone." Or make a little video about our company and what we do, but we'd like you to say what we do as a business. You might be a personal thank you from a person. So if I wanted to say thank you to Kathy and to Sue for something that they did, I could get somebody to just say thank you, Kathy, thank you, Sue. Not enough people say thank you these days. And what I've done, instead of buying a Hallmark card, I've spent $3 and I've asked this chap to give my thanks for me. And as such, he's now been able to buy a bag of maize meal, feed his family for a week. So thank you, and I'm sure he'll be grateful for that as well. So very simple things. Simple. Anything anybody can learn to do that. You don't need any tangible skill to be able to basically be videoed on camera. So, but that's not where it ends, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to upskill those people to the point that they can afford to buy a laptop. Now, there's loads of NGOs that are in the market of trying to get people into the digital economy. So we can work with people to get laptops to people, and that person now isn't being given a laptop. They're funding it. They might be co-funding it, might be part funding it, but there'll be an NGO willing to give them a laptop and some access if they've got something to do with a laptop. And so suddenly now, if you've got a laptop, you can upskill. You've been on YouTube for a little while.
Yes.
You can learn anything. So you might learn to code, you might learn to data mine, you might learn to design, or whatever it is that. There are now a gazillion skills that you can learn. So now, from just making videos, saying thank you to people, singing happy birthday to people, doing a very basic, simplistic skill, you've just got to earn that $150 from the developed world. That $150 gets you a laptop, and that opens the world. As long as you're a bright person, there's nothing you can't learn. So you can learn basic skills first, and then get more and more and more advanced as you go. So the gig economy I see as opening a door, entry level. You've just got a basic school education, and then moving into much more advanced skills through upskilling them via a laptop. So that's kind of where it's at. I've forgotten what the original question was.
Well, it was going to be connected with NGO, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's it. But by choosing vocational NGOs, what we figure is people have this distrust of crypto on the ground. The NGOs have distrust, the users have distrust, the people in the shops have distrust. Everyone has distrust. We found this from our tour of South Africa. It's actually quite hard to convince people that it's real. So we've got a system now for convincing people that it's real, and I'll go into that another time. But at the same time, if the NGO that's come to your village and has been educating people has a school in your village, if that NGO is saying, oh, by the way, it's a really good idea to download Electroneum, if nothing else, if you don't use it for anything else, then pass it back to us, because we'll cash it in and we'll do more good for your village. At the moment, they're not doing this. But what we want to do is convince them that they're not involved in some nefarious scheme. They're involved in a wonderful scheme that can only be good for people. So if the NGOs get across the line with this is real money, then they see that actually the people in the villages can be on our mobile miner. So hopefully they can use that to top up their airtime directly, but even if they can't, there's nothing to stop them sending it back to the NGO to say thanks to the NGO for the work they've done, at which point the NGO has more money to help them. So it's getting this trust model out by the NGOs. And the
they'll
first
actually
stage,
see hands on the ground the difference it's making.
trust us first that it is real. And so we're in the first stage of this. And once you start seeing people tweet, you'll start seeing, NGOs are actually earning the block reward. That's never been done before. So nobody knows quite where it will go, but I believe it will take us to the point that the NGOs will start to understand cryptocurrency has a real value on the ground and can make a difference.
Right, and it'll rub off. I think it'll do great wonders for Electroneum's reputation, because you're the one that said in there that made all this difference.